And as I think you might have heard from the conversation there, Niels, I'm going to attempt your surname, Niels, just because, you know, I haven't made enough errors in pronunciation so far today. Bogaards, is that good? Terrible, probably.
Bogaards.
Bogaards. Bogaards. From Elephant Candy is going to tell us about their contribution to the project, focusing very much on the user experience. And just to prove how interactive and usable it is, it's going to be done from a touch screen.
No,
you just fancy doing some extra plugging. Excellent. Niels.
Part of it maybe, but or will be. But I will start with a normal slideshow. Okay, so it's about the mobile app. So how to design this? What do you want to add? What is needed technically? What is needed from a user point of view? And so you know this picture by now. I think it's a very complex project. There are very many components. They're all important. And as you see on the top right, there are a lot of formats and connections that are in the project. We are at the right side, so already it's less complex and it's easier to oversee. But we are only doing this. So, in fact, we only have a next generation audio, so MPEG-H over MPEG-Dash, and we have input from users, and we have extra metadata for the kind of metadata that doesn't fit in a audio codec. So the goals and motivation for this app was to bring or to see how it would work if we would bring this technology to a large audience. Everyone is using mobile phones. They're very individual. They're very personal. So it needs a really different approach from the standard broadcast one-size-fits-all. Another goal was to use MPEG-H. We didn't want to build a parallel multi-channel thing because it seemed like the logical thing for an app to use the latest technology, have all the objects in one stream and then take it from there. There are very many situations in which you may want to use a mobile radio app if you're commuting, if you're sporting, if you're at home. Often people will use a mobile phone to control their stuff. So we wanted it to be flexible in all of these aspects. It's a prototype, but it is all real. So there's no fake there, but it's a prototype, so it's very limited. And if you download and try it, it may crash, etc., etc. But all the parts are there. And so our main focus was on the user, on usability, usage, to discover, in fact, so if there is an app that can do this, do people actually understand it? Do they like it? What do they like? What don't they use, even though we think that it's very interesting? So we worked with two partners that did evaluation of the app. One is Bcom, that has a user interface lab, and the other is Jozef's from Fraunhofer, that was mentioned before. So there's been a lot of analysis. Okay, how does this work? Do people understand it, etc. Okay, onto the design. So we took the mobile and everything that comes with mobile as a start. So looking at podcast, looking at sports apps, etc., and see how they use everything that's in the phone. We had to make it work for live and on demand, which are really two different things. So we started designing, and already we worked with Bcom to evaluate how to improve the design in iterative steps. Here you see a little bit of the history of one screen. And so what we did is we added very many features, more than we would normally add. So it's not the best user-friendly app, but it's to discover, hey, what is being used? What do people understand? Which things are used always together, so they could be merged into one slider or preset or something like that. Okay, technically, it's the first mobile app that uses MPEG-H. So there's not a lot of, say, sample code. There was a lot to discover and to write. We stream over MPEG-Dash. This is not a standard library in iOS, so we made a MPEG-Dash streaming receiver, buffering, etc., etc. We wanted to support many different outputs to really appreciate the difference between stereo, binaural, or AirPlay. Just for all the scenarios that you may have, we were looking for ways to do them. So as you can see on the blue stripes, there's a lot of outputs that may be used up to HDMI, which is not the most logical thing with an iPhone to put a cable in, but if you have an advanced soundbar, you may still want to do it. And then everything is done on the device, so there's no pre-rendering on a server or something. So there's a lot of calculation, but it's acceptable. It's the codec is very efficient, we noticed, so can be done. One thing we designed also is a JSON stream that can hold all sorts of metadata that are not typically in a audio codec, like links to images, etc., because we want to provide a full, rich experience. So from OBA we use immersive output, 3D audio. You can adjust foreground and background balance to enhance the intelligibility of sound. You can move objects in 3D space or in 2D if you don't have a 3D output. Languages, so you can switch on the fly which language you want to listen to, of course, if it's in the file. But most of the content that was made in the project is in at least German and English, and there's also a bit of French, so that was interesting to experiment with. Well, as Werner just said, we have a variable length playback and lots of metadata, as Michael mentioned. Object-based audio is audio with metadata, so we have a lot of metadata. So in the interface, this is a bit of a schema of how that works. So the gray box is, say, the iPhone, and there's a stream of audio in MPEG-H, that's the green one. There's extra data in the, what's that called, that color? I think it was called teal in my interface, but I don't know if that's a name that you understand. And so there's different streams coming. One thing that was mentioned by Harold already in his talk was that you can specify what can be done with an object. So an editor or an author may define this object may be moved only from there to there. So the interface needs to adapt to what is allowed and what's available in a stream. The JSON also can specify, okay, this is like the Mermaid Steers has a very different interface from another program because, yeah, it's a special program. So a lot of focus is on navigating in a file. There's metadata that is in time, so you have a transcript that can be shown, or there are markers in time, and yeah, extra info like speaker information, etc., branding. Then the red lines are the input of the user. So the user can say what they like. They may not want to hear certain things, or they may have a preference for mono. I don't know. That's up to the user. And they also can interact with certain features if they are available in the program. Okay. Next up are some screenshots of the app. This is a time scrubbing thing. This is a normal overview of the program. The little markers that you see are points of interest, so you can get extra information at a certain point, like a chapter. And a textual version allows you to scroll back and see what you missed, etc. Here is a shot of how you can interact with an object in 3D, so you can move it up and down and sideways, depending on your output format, of course. This one has been shown now already 5 times, I think, so no need to talk about that. Here you see that this interface is not standard for any program. So all that data is loaded from JSON because it's a special interface for the Mermaid Steers. That allows you to follow a person, as you already have heard from Chris. Okay, there's more. There's many options that you have. There's wishes, there are environmental circumstances, so you may not speak French, so you want French overdubbed, or you may be running, so you want extra bass in your sound, etc. Here you see 6 or 7 things. There's more, and they all can lead to certain settings in the app, like you want to use dynamic range compression, or increase, or reduce the length of a program, etc. It's all very complex. That's why we defined a system called profiles, where you link these. So you see that I set certain conditions, like I'm running, and if the phone sees that I'm running, then it switches maybe to stereo and enhanced bass or something like that. Or if I'm at home, automatically switch to 5.1. And in this way, we try to make it easier to exploit the advantages for non-expert users, and to interact as little as is needed to benefit from all the possibilities. Okay, I think I'm late already, yeah? But I have a short demo, some things that I would like to show. Can you switch? Am I late?
No, you're good.
I'm good, okay. Then, so I will show some things. This is the Art of Foley. This is by BR. This is a documentary. Oh, let me make it. I'm sorry about the level. You can see a couple of the aspects of the things we have. For instance, we have multiple languages. So it's all in the same stream. You can switch to a different language. It's nice for learning a language, for instance, but... What do you want, French? Back to French? I'm sorry, this is a editorial decision whether you're allowed to switch when it just is saying frog. You can see here the live transcript, so you can go back in time and look for certain things. Let me see what else I can show. Let me show a different program. I will not show anything with immersion because we don't have that here. So if you would like to listen to that, it's in the demo over headphones. This is one where we have the most advanced variable length. So you see here that we can reduce it to different lengths based on what you the time you have and the level of interest. Oh, it's live. This one is by Fraunhofer. What's interesting here is that this B that you hear is a separate object. We can make it louder or softer, depending on whether you like Bs. And also it can move around. Okay, there's more there that you can do if you're in a 3D system. There's also the elevation that you can adjust. The last that I would like to show is it's a football match. This one was reenacted for the purpose of our project. If you think that you don't understand the commentator, you can make him louder, or you can just take him out if you don't like him. And then if it's a boring match and you think it should be shorter, then you can make it shorter. And you have only to go. Okay, that's it for the live part. If you can switch back, and I have one last slide. So the app is available for you, not for the larger audience, but you can get access if you follow this link or you go to the QR code and voila. Any questions?
Yes. Thank you. So I think you have to agree that when you see all the effort that's gone into the concept, the architecture, the production tools, the program ideas, when you see it appearing on a device and the user experience, hopefully it's all beginning to make some real sense. That's a really great way of showing how the whole technology stack has a real impact. So thank you, Niels. There must be some questions about the magic that elephantcandy put in mobile phones. Trevor.
There's a lot of discussion about how much control users want. So how much do people actually use all those controls? How often do people turn the B up and down and things like that?
Well, so it's a bit difficult now as there's really little content, and so the B is the obvious example. I think to decide on the usefulness of the specialization needs more content and a longer evaluation period. I didn't show the musical immersion. I think there's a lot of interesting possibilities. It's a bit early, but at least people accept it. They understand. Okay, yes, of course, this is an object. I can move it. And that was, in fact, the main goal: to investigate what do people understand, what do they like, and yeah, of course, we don't have a long period of testing. But,
I certainly know that in my family, my kids would like to cut Beethoven down to size, and my wife would love that length of football match. So that'd be a big win for me at home, I think. Any other questions, guys? Fantastic.
My name is Peter Wanselow from Magix also, and first of all, I'd like to say I think this is really a nice user interface. I have two technical questions. First of all, you mentioned the power which is needed for the decoding. Did you make some evaluation about battery life? Because you do all the decoding now in the device compared to normal music reproduction?
We did not. I think the Fraunhofer people that actually made the decoder would be better placed to answer that. We didn't notice anything special. I don't think that it's so much calculation compared to video or something. But this is just a very rough estimate. We're not charging our phones more often than other times. I think it's pretty efficient.
Okay, thank you. And the other question is concerning the variable length feature. Did you consider that the user will change the length after starting
yes, we did.
playing?
And then we
What happens then? Does it
at
start
the
from the beginning or?
Yeah. At the moment we don't do anything smart. Of course we should, due to time limitations, we didn't make that. But there are. It's actually easier to make it shorter than to make it longer.
Of course.
And but it's not a strange use case to make it longer. So you're opening something and you listen to the introduction, which may be in the middle because it's the most important part, and then you think, oh yeah, that's nice, let's make it longer. But yeah, you're already past something. So. Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. Yeah. I agree that it's an interesting thing to investigate.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess the next part of the challenge is very much for storytellers to use this technology. And I think it's an interesting question about the processing power that's required to do this, but I think it's reasonable to say a lot of these technologies, MPEG-H and some of the NGA technologies, have been optimized in these sort of profiles for use on set-top boxes and in televisions where there isn't a huge amount of processing power either, so that these profiles are probably quite efficient already.
Yeah, and I think you shouldn't say either, because on a modern iPhone there's a lot of power.
Yeah, exactly. So there's much more
incomparable
power
with television.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so.